गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Hare Krishna. So today we are going to recite text 27. This is Canto 2, Chapter 7 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The verse is a bit difficult to recite, so it's okay if you don't repeat. You can just listen in, or if you can, that will be even better. So we'll try it to recite. You can recite after me. Tokena jivaharanam yadalu ulukikayas त्रैमासिकस्य च पदशकटो प्रवृत्तः यद्रिङ्गतानन्तर्गतेन दिवि स्पृशर्वा उन्मूलनं तु इति राथयतर्जुनो न भयं भव्यम्. It's a little difficult. So. Oh, the other one you want to say? Please recite. Anybody wants to? Please. Lokena jiva haranam talulukikaya त्रैमासिकस्य च पदो सकनो प्रवृत्तः यद्रिङ्गतरन्तर्गतेन दिवि पृष्ठशो वा उन्मूलनं त्वयितरातनर्जुन न भव्यम्. तोकेन जिह्वहरणं यदलौकिकायस् त्रैमासिकस्य च पदो शकटो प्रवृत्तः यद्रिङ्गतान्तर्गतेन दिवि स्पृशोर्वा उन्मूर्वलं त्वितरार्थर्जनोर्भाव्यम्. तोकेन जिह्वनभं यदुकुलुकाय त्रैमासिकस्य च पदशकटो प्रवृत्ता यद्रिङ्गतान्तर्गतेन दिवि स्पृशो वा उन्मूलमत्वितरार्थजनोर्भाव्यम्. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So I'll read the translation and we'll read there are two paragraphs for the purport. We can read the first. So some of you can take turns to read the purport. I'll quickly read the translation. There is no doubt about Lord Krishna's being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how was it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother? To overture a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old? To uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling? All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. Anybody wants to read the purpose? It's like, oh, if you don't have it, I can read it. Oh, you have it? Okay.
One cannot manufacture a god by one's mental speculation or by numerical votes, as has become a practice for the less intelligent class of men. God is God eternally, and an ordinary living entity is eternally a part of and parcel of God. God is one without a second, and the ordinary living entities are many, without number. All such living entities are maintained by God Himself, and that is the verdict of the Vedic literatures. When Krishna was on the lap of his mother, the demon Putana appeared before his mother and prayed to nurture the child in her lap. Mother Yashoda agreed, and the child was transferred onto the lap of Putana, who was in the garb of a respectable lady. Putana wanted to kill the child by smearing poison on the nipple of her breast. But when everything was complete, the Lord sucked her breast along with her very air of life. The demon's gigantic body, said to be as long as 6 miles, fell down. But Lord Krishna did not need to expand himself to the length of the she-demon Putana, although he was quite competent to extend himself more than 6 miles long. In his Vamana incarnation, he posed himself as a dwarf Brahmana, but when he took possession of his land, promised by Bali Maharaj, he expanded his footstep to the top of the universe, extending over thousands and millions of miles. So it was not very difficult for Krishna to perform a miracle by extending his bodily features. But he had no desire to do it because of his deep filial love for his mother Yashoda. If
Yashoda had seen Krishna in her lap extending 6 miles to cope with the she-demon Putana, then the natural maternal love of Yashoda would have been hurt, because in that way Yashoda would have come to know that her so-called son, Krishna, was God Himself. And with the knowledge of the Godhood of Krishna, Yashoda Mai would have lost the temper of her love for Krishna as the natural mother. But as far as Lord Krishna is concerned, He is God always, either as a child on the lap of his mother, or as the coveter of the universe, Vamanadev. He does not require to become God by undergoing severe penances, although some men think of becoming God in that way. By undergoing severe austerities and penances, one cannot become one or equal with God, but one can attain most of the godly qualities. A living being can attain godly qualities to a large extent, but he cannot become God, whereas Krishna, without undergoing any type of penance, is God always, either in the lap of his mother, or growing up, or at any stage of growth.
Yeah, you can stop. Thank you. So, Hare Krishna. This particular section of the Srimad Bhagavatam is an explanation of the various incarnations. If you see, the chapter is entitled Scheduled Incarnations. So it is Lord Brahma. I'm hoping and assuming all of us know Lord Brahma is the topmost living entity. He's the first living entity that is born in each universe, without going into the complications of multiple universes. And he is explaining within the universe what are the different incarnations that the Lord takes. And obviously emphasizing the fact that all these incarnations, they originate from one supreme. There is one supreme incarnation. Elsewhere in his prayers as Sri Brahma Samhita, he explains Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradira Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He explains very clearly how there is one supreme cause from which everything emanates. And in one sense, it's all like a permanent design. There is no such thing like somebody by doing certain penances or doing something becomes God. That is the crux of what I wanted to share today. I mean, every verse, every purport has so many dimensions to it. There are so many things we can learn from it. I'm going to focus on 3 to 4 small snippets of knowledge that can help us on our spiritual journey. The first I wanted to just share about, I'll list the 4. I'm going to talk about the principles of attraction. You know, when we hear the word Krishna, Krishna in Sanskrit means all attractive. So what makes the Supreme Lord all attractive? So from a humane point of view, I just want to discuss what are our limitations and how they are not present in the Lord. The limited versus the unlimited. That is one. So the second is I just wanted to also share about the 6 major opulences that are present in the Lord. Third is that this is by design. Nobody can change this about the supremacy of the Lord and our subservience to Him. And fourth is about the rarity to understand the Lord as He is. So those are 4 points I will try to share based on what is given here. So as I mentioned, if we look around in the world that we experience and live today, there is a very unique principle of people being attracted or people being attractive, right? You know, based on their ability to do something beyond what ordinary people can do. You know, so if we think about ourselves, we all have a human body. It has its own limitations. You know, we can, if you talk about physical strength, we can lift only up to a certain weight. You know, it's subjective. There's only a certain limitation to which you can perform something physical, right? Okay, it's still on. So similarly, our mental strength, you know, you can only remember up to a certain point. Your memory, our senses, you know, as we know, we have very limited ability to perceive things around us. We feel that we can understand everything with our eyes, but that's not true. There is ultraviolet and infrared rays, you know, you cannot see beyond. In fact, the world, if we rely on these gadgets or devices and our eyes to understand the universe and the Lord, we will always be spinning around. Now, some of you may know, up until 2 years ago, there was a very celebrated telescope, called as the Hubble telescope. You must have heard about it. And 2 years ago, they replaced it, 2 or 4, I don't know, whatever. They replaced it with the James Webb telescope. And it is much more powerful. And now it is opening up so many things which are defeating some of the theories that we were holding close to and were taught in the schools and colleges. Now they're questioning all that. That it's not possible. Science cannot explain what they are seeing now beyond a certain point in the galaxy, because the light emanating from the stars is coming from, according to them, many millions of years ago in time, because it takes time for light to reach us, right? So the point is that the moment we try to understand the greatness of the Lord through our limited senses, it's always going to be a matter of being fooled. You know, it's the scientific theories, they change every probably 20-30 years. Probably our grandparents died assuming that, if they were taught that atom is the smallest particle. But it's no longer that we know about electrons, protons, and nowadays we're talking in between, and so many things are happening, right? So the moment we decide or try to understand everything around us just with our limited senses and what science is trying to tell us, material science, we are always, in one sense we say, like a sitting duck. We are just ready to be limited, you know, or fooled. So the way it works in this world is, the moment we see somebody surpassing those limitations, that person becomes attractive, right? If you think of any person whom you probably adore or admire as being, I could be as famous or rich or beautiful or knowledgeable or whatever, as that person, he or she probably has some qualities which are exceptional, which are beyond the realm or the range of ordinary people. Whether it's a sports personality or whether it's a singer, an actor, whatever it is, right? So the point is, all these various qualities that are exhibited, only when somebody exhibits it beyond a certain range, that's when that person becomes attractive. And that is where, in this verse, we can see, the mention is that Krishna as a supreme person, as God, when he appears, he does not really have to go through all these rigors. Like, if you think about it, whatever the same personalities that we think of, and they are cherished in today's day and age, they have to spend a lot of time and efforts and discipline to reach a particular point, right? To be able to be better than the rest, as they say. But and there's so much effort, and to maintain that is also difficult. And the moment they lose the prime of their youth or health, they're no longer at that position. Somebody else takes that position, right? So that is how it works in this world. But that does not apply, these limitations does not apply to the Supreme Lord. He is always, we cannot, as they say, you cannot understand the unlimited with our limited senses. The unlimited has to reveal himself to you. He has to give you the ability to understand what it means to be unlimited. So that is the one element that comes out of this verse, that the translation of the purport Prabhupada says that God is God always. There is no such concept like the making of God or going through certain penances to become God. The other way to apply it to our understanding is that we cannot become God. There is always maybe, I don't know, but there is always a chance that somebody may fool us that you do this and you also will become God. Or somebody may claim that I am God. And that's very much possible in this age called Kali Yuga, because it is the age of hypocrisy and quarrel. People will pretend to be what they are not. And most of their stress in life comes trying to be what you are not. It's a very deep understanding for devotees also, that if you want to live a stress-free life, we should stop trying to be what we are not. The moment you understand that as a principle, you will feel much more relieved, more free to practice whatever you're doing, even your sadhana. So from that point of view, that is the first point I wanted to make, that the limitations are always going to remain. There will be a few who will break through those limitations of our abilities, and we can become godly, we can become attractive to some extent, but we can never reach that level, because by design it is not possible. That is the first point. Second is about what makes the Lord, the Supreme Lord. Or it's like there are questions, there are so many different philosophical explanations of God. There's this, you must have heard this very common one, like God, generator, operator, destroyer, right? You must have heard that. People say that God means who's the generator. He creates, operator, he maintains, and he destroys. And in the Shastras, there are different aspects of the Lord which have expanded himself to manage just this. Like Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. Lord Brahma is the generator, Vishnu is the operator, and Lord Shiva is the destroyer. So that is one way of understanding, but the Shastras have given us a better way of understanding this whole concept of attraction and beyond limitations. And there is this verse that comes in the Vishnu Puran, Aishwarasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashriya Jnana Vairagyaschoyam Shannam Bhaga Iti Ganam. So there are 6 opulences that are present in the Lord, which is Aishwarya. Aishwarya means lot of wealth. Virya means heroics, strength, valor, courage. That is Virya, heroics. Yasha means fame. Shri means beauty. Gyan means knowledge. And Vairagya means renunciation. So wealth, heroics or courage, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. So these 6 are the topmost opulences that anybody can exhibit. And if you can exhibit that to the fullest, you are the most attractive personality. And that is what, how do you understand who is the Supreme? One who exhibits all these 6 opulences in full. So that is another way of looking at the same shloka, right? Where Krishna is exhibiting all these 6 opulences right from the word go. Usually when we are born as babies, we have to be washed to at least look better, coming out of the womb of the mother. And the only thing we can do is cry and helplessly seek attention for, if we are hungry, we have to cry. If we feel any bite, we have to cry. If we want, there's no way to communicate other than just to cry as a baby, right? So there are always, we are very limited. But when Krishna appears, and that's what this verse is trying to explain, that he did not, in fact, it is not mentioned here, but the scriptures explain. In fact, there is also a beautiful diagram, not diagram, a picture, sorry. I come from the IT world, so I think of architectural diagrams, and also in my lingo, the word diagram comes up. But there's a beautiful painting in the Krishna book that when the Lord appears, Mother Devaki is praying, he appears in the 400 beautiful form, with all the jewels and everything. We come naked. We have to be clothed. We have to be provided everything we need. But it's not the case for the Lord, right? He comes in his full opulence. In fact, Mother Devaki had to pray that please change into a baby form, otherwise Kamsa will kill you, because that she is under the Yogamaya potency. She does not understand. She's like a motherly affection, overcome by that. So that is the way to understand. It is beyond, like there are apparent contradictions in the personality of Godhead, that he is unborn but still is born. He does not perform any activities but still is in the middle of each and every activity that we perform, right, through his energies. So this is like the inherent dualities, or not dualities, the contradictions in the personality of God. But we don't, these will get cleared as we advance in spiritual life. But at this time, it is suffice to understand that it's the Lord who creates different kinds of, bewilderments for us to start with. So those were the 6 opulences that I wanted to discuss. And then the third was, I wanted to mention that it's by design that there is the Supreme Person of Godhead. It's very hard sometimes to realize that why should there be a Lord who is always the Supreme? Why can't I be the Supreme, right? There is always a chance to think like that. And that is the precise reason why we are all here in this material world. It is said that when we do not agree to the supremacy of the Lord out of his own love for us creates a facility for us to perceive, to get that false sense of perception that we are the creators, enjoyers, and proprietors. In our own little way, within our own limitations, all of us have the ability to control something. If nothing, at least your own self. That also is difficult because of our minds many a times. But still, we have a control on a certain space called our house or our room or our bed, whatever it is on. So this is all ordained by the Lord's desire that we all get to experience this concept of proprietor, controller, and enjoyer because we wanted it that way. But in the original realm, there is nothing that really makes us. It's basically the other way around. It's like we have to always be subservient to the service of the Lord. So that is the point, that we have to understand the constitutional position. And if we see these various pastimes of the Lord, just to comprehend a few, it really showcases that the Lord he doesn't have to be limited. In fact, there are different incarnations of the Lord, and the incarnation of the Lord as Krishna is explained as Purna Purushottam Bhagavan, meaning he's complete. He does not hold back anything. He performs such pastimes which are beyond comprehension, even beyond what other incarnations have done. And then the list is innumerable. If you read the Krishna book, a 7-year-old boy being able to hold an entire mountain on the weakest part of our bodies, which is the little finger, being able to just consume an entire forest fire in his mouth, being able to, like, killing Putana, killing so many every day. It was like if you see the pastimes of the Lord, every day it was some kind of a superhuman activity that Krishna would exhibit. Now the funny part is, something for us as sadhakas to understand is, the Lord himself doesn't really do it to feel that people should make him realize, people should be attracted to him. And that is why he has created this special corner in the spiritual sky called as the Goloka planets. It is only in Vaikuntha. Up to the Vaikuntha, there is this experience that the Lord is somebody great, but he does not like it that way. He likes a very informal relationship with his devotees. That is why he has created this topmost spiritual realm called the Goloka, where nobody considers him as God. It's only when he manifests these pastimes just for us to feel awe and reverence and to attract us, because otherwise we won't be attracted, right? We need, as I said, in this realm, the attraction, the law of attraction, the attractiveness comes through demonstrating superhuman abilities. So he has to do that. But in the spiritual realm, he doesn't like it, as our acharyas say. Like anybody, we know that if you're in office and you have some position, some power, you exhibit that in front of them. But when you come home, you don't really want to be that. You want to feel relaxed with your family members. You don't want everybody to keep giving you the same level of respect or asking you questions, how to go about this, how to go about that. You just want to feel natural, and enjoy a certain uninhibited relationship. So that's what the Lord does by keeping himself in his original form, only with his very confidential associates, into a special corner of the spiritual world called as Vaikuntha, as the Goloka. Everywhere else, there is this concept of awe and reverence to the Lord, that, oh my God, look at his super opulent powers. And if we were to develop that love for the Lord, we have to start becoming conscious of his greatness all around us. We don't have to wait, or we probably may not be fortunate to be part of seeing the Lord in person performing these type of pastimes, right? It is possible, if we perfect our lives to a certain extent, we may get a chance in our next birth, which may be our last birth, to participate in these pastimes and then go back with him, But if we look around, these same unlimited or marvelous qualities of the Lord are exhibited daily. If you see the power of the sun that actually runs everything in the universe, it is so overwhelming. We need to have that consciousness to realize these are all the Lord's energies beyond the limitations of anybody. The solar energy, the oceans, the unlimited depths of the oceans, all the elements. They are so. The more conscious we become of the divinity around us, the more we tune our consciousness to understanding the unlimited nature of the Lord's energy. We don't have to wait for him to come and incarnate and demonstrate such abilities. And this is all by design, as I mentioned. It's beyond us to understand how everything exists eternally and it is always present, because we are deluded by the notion of time and space. and hence we have a concept called as past, present and future. But in the spiritual sky, it's all a seamless exchange of highest emotions and pastimes. There is no such thing called as past. It's again, even for me to speak, it's beyond my, but that is what the scriptures try to reveal to us, that this is what it is in the spiritual realm. And it's a permanent design. We are eternally going to be subservient to and our best bet to be completely happy is to find that position in which the Lord likes us to serve, what is called as Swarupa Siddhi, our eternal position. We all have some eternal position in the spiritual world. Trying to understand that through our sadhana means sadhana is nothing but getting rid of all the nuances or all the unwanted things that we have accumulated with time. The moment we can wash that away, we are back to our original form, back to our original consciousness, and then we can experience unrepeatedly the Lord. And it's a permanent design. We cannot change that, whether we like it or not. If we want to argue about it, we have to stay in the material world. If we can accept this fact, then we are ready. We are aligned. We are aligning ourselves to go back. When we fly at the airports, you see, especially during busy times, the aircrafts have to stay at the tarmac. They have to line up eventually to be at the runway, and then been allowed to take off. So all of us in this room, if we accept these higher truths and are willing to try through some practices, then we are aligning ourselves to be on that runway and take off to the spiritual world. So that is something we have to understand. And the last thing I want to mention is the fact that it is very rare to understand this. I'll finish in 2 minutes. That Krishna explains that in the Gita itself, that Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavanvan Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. He says that it is after many births, one comes to the understanding that Vasudevam Sarvamiti, that I am the Supreme. And if we are close to that, the assurance for us is it's like we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We are almost there. We are almost closer to exiting this repeated cycles of birth and death and experience what we are supposed to experience to our fullest. That is complete bliss and knowledge, Satchidananda, eternality, to experience eternality, to experience bliss and experience knowledge. So just wanted to share that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody would like to share any thoughts or questions or comments? If not, I think we are in good time. Yeah, sorry, Mataji.
Question is that if we really don't understand that God is a person and that Krishna is God, and then we hear that he prefers informal relationship, is that really proper for us to begin that way, or how do we begin to actually comprehend that God is a person?
Sure, thank you, Mataji. Thank you for the question. And so the question is, God prefers that he enjoys informal relationships the most, but should we start behaving that way, right? That is kind of the question. So yes, there are these concepts of what we call as sadhana bhakti, which is the practices we cannot really, like for example, if we want to be in the house of some really eminent personality, you cannot just show up in that person's house, right? Whoever, think of somebody who you really revere, have an awe and reverence to, in whatever field. Can you just show up in that person's house and start behaving with him the way we want? No, right? You have to reached to a point in terms of your qualifications or whatever it is, to for that person to feel comfortable exhibiting that level of close relationship with you. So right now we don't have that. Like we are covered, as we say, by the negativities, some of the impediments or impurities. We have to purify ourselves, and for that we require the process of practice, what we call as spiritual practices or sadhana bhakti. Like chanting the holy names of the Lord is the most powerful and most effective way to slowly but surely purify ourselves, our consciousness. And then following some regulations, regularly associating with the devotees, reading, trying to comprehend these beautiful scriptures. These are all part of it. So we need to follow these. So in the beginning, we cannot imitate these things. It becomes offensive. If we try to say that, hey, I'm very close to the Lord, I can perform or I can call Him in a certain way. That's not recommended. The recommendation is that we should follow the process, and gradually the Lord, when He feels that we are ready, He will give us enough experiences from within to realize that He is ready to reciprocate with us in a certain way, and then we can really enjoy that. And that's the thing, we cannot force ourselves onto the Lord. He's always there as a loving Father. He's always there for us to satisfy each and every desire that we may ever have. But the only thing is, because we are within the realm of the karmic, we are in the framework of karma. Because we wanted free will, along with the free will comes the laws of karma. So that is why He helps us to perform the right karma, even to achieve anything material. Whatever desires you have, you can achieve every desire you ever have. But you may have to take more births. But the Lord is willing to give everything. So that is how much love He has for us. But the topmost love is, He says, okay, if you don't want anything else, then I'm willing to bring you back to myself, where you can experience the complete perfection of your consciousness, which is bliss, like that. So that is the way we understand. Thank you very much. Any other quick mention? Anybody wants to just share any point? I know all of you have a lot of wonderful study and reading. If there's any point you want to share to enhance the learning of the group, that is also fine. If not, sorry. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, thank you for a wonderful class, Prabhu. I really like the point that you mentioned regarding people losing track on the everyday miracles of life. Like people have lost faith in God because we're in this joyless pursuit for titillation and pleasure, of course, given this imperialist capitalist society that we live in. But point is that we cannot see the bigger picture, the bigger God, because what to speak if we cannot realize the blessings of everyday life, what to speak of the miracle of God Himself.
Right.
So I really appreciated that point.
Sure. Yeah. I myself think of it like that. People, like I try to go twice or thrice a week to exercise in the gym just to keep fit, and I see people struggling there, trying to lift higher and heavier and heavier weights, and then I think the Lord's energies are effortlessly holding the entire planets. Can you imagine the weight of the planet? All the weights that we can ever imagine is on the planet, and that planet is effortlessly floating in air. If you think, what is the galaxy? What are all the stars and galaxies? These are all floating planets, and the energies are so. It's so much of miracle all around that we can tune our consciousness to and understand and love, and we don't have to wait for the Lord to incarnate, basically. Thank you for that one. Really appreciate that. All right, I know we are at time, 8:30, just turned 8:31. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week ahead. Hare Krishna. the keys.